some historical parallels between my own country that over 200 years ago faced decisions which are in many ways remind you of decisions Europe faces today or has faced in the last 20 years. So, the short version is we were 13 countries. We had a very weak central government under our Constitution. Maybe we didn't even have a central government. We had a treaty called the Articles of Confederation. We had lots of debt problems. Our debt of our individual countries, our 13 states, were going at deep discount. They weren't being serviced. And various people inside the country didn't like that arrangement, so they actually got together and wrote a new constitution, a drastically different constitution, which created a central government, took sovereignty away from the states, and created a single, united fiscal arrangement, single taxes, and if you just stand back and kind of look at, kind of in a way of machine learning and artificial intelligence does, you'll say, boy, this pattern reminds me a lot of things that's going on, and change the names. Change the name Virginia, change that to Germany, change Italy to Rhode Island. Lots of similar forces are going on. So there's similarities, there's differences, big differences too, because I'll tell you one difference. When our Constitution and our central government was created, people didn't live for very long. We didn't have big retirement systems. Why? Because people didn't retire. They didn't live beyond 45. They worked until they ended. Doctors, medical care, doctors would probably kill you so you didn't go to doctors. So lots of things we spend money on today. So there's similarities and differences, and So what my talk was about was spotting the similarities and differences, and it wasn't about giving recommendations, because the people in Europe, this is a thing Americans decided for themselves. So we had a revolution from Britain, so we could decide it for ourselves, and and Europe's going to decide it for themselves, and there's lots of really smart people, and it'll work out. Does history repeat? And so it never quite repeats, and that's what makes the job. I'm not a historian, but I admire historians for what they do. They try to, what a good historian does is he tells you things that are similar, and then he warns you, wait a minute, not everything's exactly the same. And my little example was, well, people live a lot longer. Another thing is lots of technology has changed. Communication technology has changed. Lots of military technology has changed. There's some dangers that those Americans faced 200 years ago when they set up the country that don't exist now. Some really bad things that don't exist now, like slavery. It's a big problem at the beginning of my country. You have to remember, 20% of the citizens, they're not citizens. People who live in my country are slaves. They don't have control of their own lives. And, but there's other bad things here, like now global warming, nuclear weapons, nuclear proliferation. So every time has its own challenges, and that means that lessons from history have to be. And there's kind of warnings from history, like one warning is it's really good to be proud of your nationality, but it's also good to be tolerant and respectful of others. So striking the balance of that, history's in all parts of the world has shown us really bad lessons about losing that balance. Okay, so I'll tell you the classic answer about that, which is a good answer, but it's not an answer everybody buys. So the answer is number one, running your own currency gives you some opportunities to do some good things and some opportunities to do some bad things. And the good things and bad things are tied together, because what you can, if you have your own currency, and you have your own central bank, you have the ability when you get into hard times to print some more money, try to get your way out of the trouble. So now the question is, I guess what history teaches, a little bit of that can be a good thing at the right time, can be dealt with, but it's very easy to do too much, and you get yourself in lots of bad things like inflation. You get yourself in a habit of defaulting on your debts. So the people that recommend joining a currency union, and that's kind of true at the beginning of my country, is you take away the ability to do both those good and bad things. And your logic has to be the bad things are overwhelm the good things. So for an example, Argentina today would have been much better off in the last 25 years if it had kind of stuck on its 1990 plans to have a currency union. Venezuela would be much better off, and so on. So it's a matter of balancing So the people in Italy that joined the currency union, they thought hard about this, and they kind of looked at the record of Italian running its own monetary system, and they said, we can do better if we kind of, couldn't say privatize it. You're going to farm it out to a European institution, and in some ways they have done better. Got much better inflation, but there's a cost for it because you can't redistribute through inflation the way you could before. So that's kind of this debate's never going to be decided once and for all. People are going to balance the costs and the benefits of. That's why it's fun for an outsider, both to respect and to watch. Is it a foolish thing to suggest? No. I mean, it's on people's minds, and when you say because of Italy, Italy's a big country, and it's got people with different interests and different ideas. So there's people in Italy that would like to withdraw because they see the benefits of running their own show, and they're not foolish. They have certain people's interests in mind, and they have a certain view of the economy, which is not foolish. The people on the other side, they're weighing the costs and benefits differently, and that's the right way to talk about weighing the costs and benefits, because these guys should talk to each other. But the people who are going to decide this aren't economists, and they're not experts. They're voters that are voting for these statesmen, these politicians who tell them the way they think about it, and they win votes. So that's the way it works.